In life, situations like this happen quite often. You notice that a conversation with someone is going well. You're discussing something together, sharing your thoughts, but then you realize that the other person is no longer paying attention to you as before. You're talking, but they're preoccupied with their own activities. They don't look at you, fidget with their phone, or find an excuse to drift away in the middle of the conversation. Later, you notice they no longer call you like before or ask how you're doing. When you call them and suggest something, they come up with an excuse to avoid you. Essentially, you're facing true social rejection. You wonder, why does it feel like the more you reach out, the more they pull away? Where did you go wrong? You replay your conversations in your mind, analyze them, but can't come to a conclusion. Over time, many of your relationships weaken and eventually disappear entirely. The reality is that you haven't done anything, obviously, wrong. You haven't offended anyone. You haven't said anything hurtful. Yet during conversations, you subtly engage in certain harmful habits. These habits, though subtle, push people away from you. So what are these harmful habits? In this video, I'll talk about 8 conversational habits that make people dislike you. Habits that are done quietly. The other person won't openly show dislike, yet they skillfully distance themselves without you even noticing. If you've ever experienced situations like this with someone, this video is for you. If you want to explore this interesting topic with me, subscribe to the channel and like the video. I'm confident that after watching this video, you won't repeat these habits again. If you're ready, let's begin. Habit 1. You wait to respond instead of truly listening. Many people don't really listen when someone is speaking. They're just thinking about what they're going to say next, planning their response. In such moments, a conversation stops being a connection between two people and turns into a "I hear you, but what I have to say is more important" competition. For example, a friend says, "This week was really tough. Everything at work was chaotic." Normally, you should just listen and try to understand their feelings. But most of us immediately respond, "Why did that happen? You shouldn't let it happen next time." Or, "I had the same thing at work." What's the problem here? You're not stopping them from speaking, but you're not acknowledging the feelings they really want to express. They're simply seeking understanding and empathy, not advice or solutions. Sometimes people do this with their spouses. For example, your partner says, "I'm really tired today." You immediately respond, "I'm tired too, but I still worked." This shifts the conversation to your topic, while they just wanted to share. Why does this happen? Because we often treat conversation as a word contest. Truly listening requires patience and attention, which people often fail to give. For instance, your child tells you about their day at school. You're already thinking, "You should have done this differently," or "When I was your age, things were different." But your child isn't sharing to get a lesson. They just want to share. If you don't rush to respond, they feel valued and heard. How to fix this? 1. Don't be distracted by your phone or other things while the other person is talking. Follow their words, eye contact, and body language. 2. Don't try to respond immediately. Tell yourself, "First, I will just listen." 3. Paraphrase their words briefly, e.g., "So you're saying the week was really exhausting?" This shows that you understand them. 4. If appropriate, ask open-ended questions, e.g., "How did that make you feel?" This deepens the conversation. Changing this habit takes time, but the result is beautiful. When people talk to you, they'll feel comfortable, valued, and understood. Listening is not just polite, it strengthens relationships. Habit 2. You one-up every story with your own. Sometimes people don't fully hear others' stories and immediately relate them to their own experiences. For example, a friend says, "Last week was stressful at work." You immediately respond, "I had the same thing and mine was worse." In such moments, the other person feels unheard. The conversation stops being about sharing and turns into a competition. Who's been through more? For instance, a co-worker says their last project was difficult and required working late. You immediately say, "I worked until 2 a.m. yesterday. I was exhausted too." They were just seeking support and understanding, but you turned it into your story. Or a relative tells you about their child's first day at school. They were so excited. After class, they told me all these things. You immediately intervene. "My child was like that too, but mine cried even more when they came home." The story now becomes a comparison or competition. Why is this habit harmful? People want to share something with you, but you make their story seem unimportant. They sense that you're there to show yourself, not to genuinely hear them. How to fix this? First, don't immediately bring up your own story. Fully listen to what the other person is saying. Show empathy. "I understand. That must have been really tough." This shows that you truly understand them. They will trust you more, share more, and see you as someone closer to them. If someone tells you a story, let them speak. Share your own story only if necessary, and preferably after they've finished, keeping it brief. The main goal is to highlight the other person's feelings. Habit 3, you give advice instead of showing empathy. Often when people talk to someone, they immediately start giving advice like, "Do this, you should do that." For example, a friend says, "I had a really stressful day at work. I'm exhausted." You immediately respond, "Why did that happen? Next time you should do it this way." What's the problem here? The other person isn't looking for a solution. They're seeking support and understanding. They need a listening ear and empathy, not advice. Offering advice often diminishes their feelings and weakens the connection. For instance, your friend says, "The meeting with the client was really tough. I couldn't do anything right." If you immediately respond, "If I were you, I would have done this first and then that," they no longer feel the need to speak. They wanted to share their problem, their struggle, or what happened to them, but you immediately turn it into your story. They needed to be heard, not advised. The Stoic approach is very helpful here. Stoics believe that we cannot control someone else's life, only our own reactions. This means the other person's problem or difficulty is not under your control. What matters is listening to their feelings and being a calm, attentive presence. Advice is often unnecessary because the solution is your perspective, not theirs. How to apply this? When the other person is speaking, don't rush to give advice. Understand their words and their feelings. Simple expressions like, "I understand. That must be really hard," are the strongest form of empathy. Ask questions such as, "How did that make you feel?" Or, "What were you thinking in that situation?" These encourage them to speak and put their story first. They will start trusting you more and sharing more openly. If you truly think your advice could be helpful, offer it at the end of the conversation as a suggestion, not as a command. For example, a loved one says, "This week was really tough at work. I'm exhausted." Instead of immediately giving advice, you can simply say, "I see. You really look tired." They speak. You listen and you absorb their story fully. At the end, you may add, "I understand you well. If you want, you could try this, because this is what I usually do in such situations." Empathy and listening are far more powerful than giving immediate advice. It's important to understand that most of the time, when people share their problems, they aren't seeking solutions. They just want to be understood. Being listened to is a form of love. Advice, on the other hand, often sends the message, "I know better than you," even if unintentionally. This habit quietly cools down relationships. Even if what you say sounds smart, the other person feels misunderstood. They seek an emotional connection, but you turn it into a rational analysis. They want to talk. You want to fix. Empathy doesn't solve the problem, but it makes someone feel they are not alone. Stoics called this emotional wisdom, because reacting with reason isn't always right. Sometimes simply staying calm, listening, and saying "I'm here" is the strongest response. Habit 4. You turn conversations into energy-draining sessions. Sometimes after talking to certain people, you don't feel lighter, you feel exhausted. During the conversation, complaints or negative thoughts keep flowing. It's as if every sentence is draining your energy. Honestly, sometimes we ourselves behave this way. Without noticing, we can turn a conversation into heavy, draining energy. As a result, people pull away, but we don't understand why. For example, a friend says, "The weather is beautiful today." You respond, "Yes, but it'll rain again tomorrow. The weather in this city is never right anyway." Instantly, their mood drops. You just wanted to share your thought, but you dimmed the energy of the conversation. Or someone shares their success. "Today my manager praised me at work." You immediately respond, "So what? Tomorrow they'll criticize you." You can't trust them. This one sentence can instantly kill their joy. Often, this habit stems from unconsciously thinking negatively. That's why it's important to monitor your energy during conversations. Ask yourself honestly, when I talk, do people feel relaxed or tense? You don't have to view everything with a forced smile, but bring a little hope and lightness. If you stay calm and balanced in conversation, others will feed off your energy positively. Habit 5. You turn conversations into debates. For some people, every conversation feels like a competition of ideas. Their goal isn't to listen, it's to win. When the other person simply shares an opinion, they immediately go on the defensive and start arguing. For example, a friend says, "I think the ending of this movie was very meaningful." You immediately respond, "No, how can it be meaningful? The script was weak. They just wanted to share their opinion." But now the conversation has turned into a clash of tastes. Or within a family, someone says, "The weather was beautiful today." You respond, "No, it's too hot. It's hard to breathe." Even a small opinion becomes an argument. At the root of this habit is often the need to be right. People want to prove their opinion is correct because it makes them feel strong. But in the end, even if they are right, they may be left alone. Sometimes we sacrifice calmness just to be right. Stoics said, if someone doesn't understand you, it doesn't make you worthless. It just means their perspective is different. You don't have to agree with every opinion, but you also don't need to start an argument. Every debate slightly eats away at a relationship. Some signs that you turn conversations into debates. 1. You're already thinking about your response while the other person is speaking. 2. You immediately show disagreement through your tone, voice, or facial expressions. 3. You try to show the correct version in every topic. How to change this? If the other person thinks differently, it's not a threat, it's just another perspective. If every opinion were the same, the world wouldn't progress. Ask questions instead of arguing. For example, "Why do you think that?" is much stronger than saying, "That's wrong." Encourage the other person to speak. Listening doesn't mean you have to agree. It means you understand. Example, a friend says, "I think exercising in the evening is more beneficial than in the morning." Don't immediately say, "No, the evening is useless." Instead, try, "Interesting. What benefits do you think it has?" This is no longer a debate. It's an exchange of ideas. Remember, every time you turn a conversation into an argument, you lose a little understanding, a little connection, and a little energy. Everyone has their own perspective. Life isn't about who is right. It's about who is understanding. The goal of a conversation should be mutual understanding, not winning. When you stay calm and don't force your opinion, people will want to talk to you more, and that is the greatest victory at the end of any discussion. Habit 6. You constantly try to prove yourself. Sometimes in every conversation, there's an inner voice saying, "Show them you're capable. Show them you're valuable." Many people carry this need unconsciously, the need to constantly prove themselves, to show they're right, to appear smart and successful in others' eyes. For example, someone says, "Our project was very successful." You immediately respond, "Yes, I also achieved the same success last month." Or a friend shares an interesting fact, and you immediately add, "I already knew that, but I read it from a different source." It's like a competition, and you try to be one step ahead every time. But in reality, people appreciate calm, confident individuals, not those who constantly prove themselves. Constantly proving yourself unconsciously shifts the conversation toward me in every topic. As a result, the other person feels distance rather than connection. Stoics express this clearly. A wise person does not try to prove their worth because they never doubt it. In other words, if you constantly try to show yourself to others, it often reflects a lack of complete inner confidence. The charm of a calm person is that they don't need to prove anything. Their calmness comes from self-assurance. How to change this habit? 1. Accept that it's not necessary for everyone to like you. Overvaluing others' opinions makes you feel like you're constantly performing. 2. Recall your values. When you feel the urge to prove yourself, ask, "Am I saying this to show off or to deepen the conversation?" 3. Stay calm and observe. In Stoic philosophy, quiet observation is a sign of strength. You can earn respect even without speaking. Don't try to fill every silence. 4. Give space to others. Allow them to share their stories, opinions, and successes. When you remain silent while they shine, it shows your greatness, not weakness. Habit 7. You draw conclusions before listening fully. Sometimes people are quick to jump to conclusions. The other person tells a story, and you form your opinion before they finish. "Okay, I know what you mean," or "So you made the same mistake again." This habit is common and often damages relationships without people realizing it. When someone shares, their goal isn't just to reach a conclusion. They want to share their feelings. If you jump to conclusions midway, you devalue their story. Example, a friend says, "This week was very tough at work. The manager requested several changes, and the project got delayed." You immediately say, "So, you didn't finish on time again." They only wanted to share their stress, but you ended the story with a judgment, ignoring their feelings. Another example, a relative says, "My child is struggling at school." You immediately respond, "So you didn't prepare them well." As a result, the conversation shifts from sharing to criticism and defense. The other person feels misunderstood and unfairly judged. For this, don't interrupt the other person while they are speaking. Instead of immediately responding or jumping to a conclusion, listen to their entire story. Show empathy. Simple phrases like, "I understand." That must be really difficult to convey that you value them. Rather than drawing conclusions too early, ask open-ended questions. For example, how did that make you feel? Or what do you think would work? If you do offer a conclusion, wait until the conversation has ended and present it as gently and openly as possible. Remember, every time you rush to a conclusion, you miss the opportunity to truly listen. People should feel understood when they speak with you. A conversation is not a competition or evaluation. It's about listening to each other. The Stoics said, "A wise person listens first, then speaks." By applying this in every conversation, you show respect to the other person. Listening, being steady, and exercising patience not only improves the quality of the conversation, but also builds your image as a strong and trustworthy individual. And finally, habit 8 is the one that destroys trust the fastest. Do you know what it is? Sharing someone else's personal information. Sometimes when people talk, you may feel the urge to share a secret. A friend confides in you, and you immediately relay that information to others. This is actually a very common habit, but its consequences are serious. People stop trusting you. For example, a colleague says, "I was really stressed about this project. I was afraid of management." You tell other co-workers, "Did you know?" They were very stressed and even afraid of management. When that person finds out, they start avoiding talking to you because their story is no longer private. You've already shared it without their permission. Stoicism has a clear principle here. The only thing under your control is your own behavior. Another person's secret is not under your control, but protecting it is your choice. In other words, not sharing a secret is your choice. When you choose to do so, you protect the other person and remain true to your ethical values. How can you cultivate this quality? First, learn to protect trust. When someone speaks, it's not your right to share their words. The conversation should remain confidential. Ask yourself, how would the other person feel if I shared this information? This simple question is enough to guide your behavior. Apply Stoic principles. Stoics said a wise person never trades their trustworthiness for any reason. Someone's secret is a measure of your loyalty. If a secret is shared with you, just listen, offer support, and do not pass it on to anyone else. Your goal should be to listen and show empathy. The information people share with you reflects their trust. If you protect it, they consider you valuable. Otherwise, sharing private information closes them off from you and damages trust. If someone confides something personal, whether it's a work issue, a relationship problem, or a family matter, they do so trusting you. But if you tell someone else, this habit doesn't just harm the relationship, it destroys it. When a person realizes you've shared their secret, they don't just feel betrayed, they feel exposed, unprotected and vulnerable. Marcus Aurelius said, when you break someone's trust, you don't just harm them, you expose yourself. You show that you care more about having information to share than about the relationship itself. If someone tells you something personal, protect it as if it were sacred. If you're unsure whether something is confidential, ask before sharing. If in doubt, choose silence. Protecting someone's trust is far more important than having something interesting to say. So, the 8 habits discussed in this video do not make you a bad person. They simply indicate that you are human and may be unaware of some of your behaviors. Many people practice at least 3 or 4 of these habits unconsciously, and as a result, experience difficulties in relationships. Remember, connecting with people is easy. What matters is maintaining and protecting that connection. We'll see you in the next video.